Well, thank you very much, Chloe, for being with us today. My name is Raul Figueroa from Local Return.
And Josh Daly with Local Return. So Chloe, we're so excited to have you with us. So tell us more, I guess, to start with, you're with CUPS Cooperative and White Electric Coffee. So tell us more about you all.
Thank you so much, Raul and Josh. Really happy to be here and talk about CUPS and White Electric. So my name is Chloe Chassaing. I'm a worker owner with CUPS Cooperative, which is a worker-owned cooperative business here in Rhode Island. And basically our origin was a group of coworkers who had worked at White Electric Coffee in Providence. Many people may have heard of it over the years. It's been around for about 20 years. And so it was a pretty well-established business already. And what happened was the owner put the business up for sale. There's kind of a background story to that, but we'll just start there. And we ended up forming a workers cooperative among a group of coworkers and decided to try and purchase the coffee shop ourselves. So that's where we are now. We were able to do it thanks to a lot of help, including from both of you. And so now we are a worker-owned cooperative business. And CUPS Cooperative is the name of our, thank you. CUPS Cooperative is technically the name of our cooperative. And we purchase assets of the business, and now we're doing business as White Electric Coffee. So it's a little confusing because we kind of are both things, but yeah, so that's pretty much the summary of what our origin and what we are.
So you are, as far as I know, you're the very first cooperative of its nature in Rhode Island. Going from sole proprietor into a workers cooperative. So that's always exciting. Always exciting, but kind of scary being the first, right? And you guys have been you have been in business as of CUPS for 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
So how does that? Can you just walk us through what the 2 weeks has been, kind of like like emotionally and kind of well business wise, and did they meet the expectations, or just like totally like blown away?
Yeah, so we were, trying, like any new business or business opening, I think kind of scrambling at the last minute, wondering like, are we going to be open at this time? And we were happy to be able to open on May 1st, 2021. So just a few weeks ago, as you said, and we were really blown away by the support we received, especially on that weekend. I mean, still it has been busy, but that weekend was really overwhelming. And I think it was a combination of factors, partly because, as you mentioned, we are, a prior existing business. So people were familiar with the business and familiar with us and had kind of been following our story because we had been doing such public fundraising, and the community had really been involved every step of the way, supporting us. So when we were able to open that weekend, people really turned out, and it was like very, very heartwarming. It was very busy. So in a way, it kind of feels like it's hard to even, I mean, I can remember that day, but there were so many people, it was overwhelming, but it was wonderful. And people were really just kind and being so supportive. And I think the clear message that I felt was, not only were they supportive of us because they, specifically liked the cafe or had been fans or, knew us either individually or as a group or had been following our trajectory, but also people really were supportive of the idea of a worker-owned cooperative. So I think that was a big part of it. And we've, still every day are hearing people saying, well, this is really great what you're doing. We need to see more worker cooperatives. And so in that sense, being a previously well-established business that's now, transformed into a worker-owned cooperative, we feel excited to be, hopefully an example of how that could play out, and kind of to demonstrate to people like this isn't something to be scared of just because you might be a little unfamiliar with it. And it's a very viable alternative form of business structure. And I think just as the weeks and months go on, people are going to see that, customers who are coming in saying like, oh, you still have all, the things we like and everything's running great. And, to customers, honestly, it probably doesn't feel extremely different because they recognize all of us. They're getting served these things they like. But, internally, and I think we are portraying that to the customers, it does feel differently because we all, have a stake, have a voice, have, shared decision-making power and responsibility, and just kind of, we're just all personally more invested, and it feels really good. It feels like we're modeling on a small scale, some of the things we'd like to see in society of just more equity and more just broader democracy, and the things I was saying, having a voice and having your ideas respected, and access to opportunity for all different kinds of people. Like, we have a very diverse group of people, and it's exciting. It just feels like we're able to try and do something, at least in this small little realm of a coffee shop, of some of the things that we might value and hope we could see in a more widespread way. So in that way, it's very exciting, and we feel responsibility too, to want to show this can be successful, and to kind of be a public, not that we're like completely public entity, but we are pretty public facing, considering we see hundreds of people a day. So if we can show that this is a good type of business that is not, like I said, something to be scared of, or something that's just something that people could consider. So if other business owners maybe are considering selling or retiring, they might see, oh, well, that, I saw what happened with Wet Electric, and maybe I will want to, sell to some of my staff, or have that just be an option that people can consider, and have this real life example that they could think about, and seeing how that could work.
Yeah. So you said a few things that you said that I wanted to kind of draw on and ask you a little more about. So, the for folks who might not be as familiar with worker cooperatives, it's not a widespread form in Rhode Island. You talked about a stake and a voice, and so I guess, and it seems like you all have gotten a bit of a crash course in worker ownership in this transition too. So could you kind of give people a little background of, what are the key things of a worker cooperative, what key elements, key values, and kind of what drew you to that as a group?
Sure. So we did have a crash course. It all happened very quickly. Having the option to purchase the cafe, and deciding to become a worker cooperative. As part of that, we really had to learn things very quickly. So that included reaching out to both of you, like Fuerza and Rhode Island Small Business Development Center. Josh, like, I know you're a co-op champion, and Raul, of course, Fuerza. So it was great to connect with all the people in Rhode Island who do have a love and support of worker co-ops. But like you said, it's still relatively uncommon in Rhode Island. So we did have to learn a lot. We had to create bylaws. So within our bylaws, they can vary, but generally the idea of a worker-owned cooperative is that the workers own a share of the business. And in our case, it's, we tried to make everything as equitable as possible. There can be various models, but the way ours is structured is that everyone who works there will be a worker owner. So there won't be like a different class of people. And then as far as decision making, that's another element of worker-owned cooperatives, that people all have a voice. And in larger ones, it's probably more difficult for everyone to have a direct voice. But in our situation, because it is a relatively small staff, right now we have 14 people, I believe, 13, 14, sorry, I'm not sure. But they, everyone we have a pretty direct, democracy. Everyone is literally making decisions together, and not every little day-to-day decision, but kind of the more governing decisions. So that's another one, the democracy, the equity and the ownership. Another principle, what else is there? Transparency. So all the books and everything are going to be just completely open, and what people are, earning, and that's very transparent. Structures of pay increases, all that is just very predictable and transparent. So I don't know what else you all might know, some other principles.
No,
I think
those are great.
those are the main ones.
And
So
then,
we did, yeah. And I will say we incorporated too as a worker-owned cooperative, which was huge because you all know this better than me, but it's some, maybe it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I don't know the exact year that actually became a possibility in Rhode Island. Thanks again to Fuerza and other advocates. Probably Josh was helping with that too, as far as I don't know who else was helping with that, but it became a actual form of corporation in Rhode Island, which is really cool. So you can, you don't have to do that, but it is an option that you can be like technically a worker cooperative. We still get a lot of questions about that where, talking to these different business agencies or whatever, we're trying to tell them what they are. And they're like, oh, well, so you're an LLC. And we're like, no, they're like, oh, you're this, you're that. We're like, no, we're a worker cooperative. It's like an actual legit thing. We're a type of corporation. So that feels really cool too, to actually be like, that is our technical title form of corporation. Again, as I was saying before, as a way to show like, oh, this can be a category of business that can exist. So yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, do you have it?
Yeah, I mean it's like you said, right? Like you have no idea how many people have their eyes on your business and on you.
Not to scare you.
Yeah, I don't think you know the stand of how many people are actually looking at you as a as a model for what they want to do. I mean, we probably don't even know the stand yet. So, not that being said, let's say hundreds of or thousands of people are looking at you. What do you want them to know? People who will maybe considering or like thinking about the idea of, hey, this is a good, this is a cool model. We'd like to explore it. What would you tell them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I not that I like the idea of like thousands and hundreds of people, I guess, but I like the idea of, if we can be a positive example, that feels really good. And I would say to people, to consider it, and, like anything new or unknown, it probably is going to be a little challenging, but you can do it. And, if we can do it, you can do it. And especially, with the folks in Rhode Island, even though it is a small network, people are very supportive. So like reach out to other people in the co-op world in Rhode Island or even New England, and people will help you along the way. So even if you feel daunted and feel like you don't know what to do, just start with one person or one organization that you know of, who's associated with co-ops, and they'll probably lead you to the next person, and then they'll lead you to the next person, and you'll figure it out step by step. That's basically how we did it. And we weren't professionals in any sense. So I feel like we're a good example that like if we can figure it out, with all the assistance we got from people, then other people can too. And I think another big thing I would say to owners specifically, like who are thinking of transitioning to a worker co-op and thinking of, the potential of selling it to their staff, is that it doesn't have to. I think there might be an incorrect notion that they think they're going to like almost be donating it or something. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the case, but I could imagine that might be a concern, that they think, oh, I invested all this time in my life and resources into this business, so I want to like cash out basically. And like if you sell it to, not that you should be like trying to get as much money as possible, like please give it like an okay deal to your workers, but you're still going to get, it's just like selling it to someone else, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like if you're going to sell your business anyway, and you think you're going to get X amount of dollars, you could sell it to your workers and get X amount of dollars. And, there will be different structures of where they're going to get their funding from. And even perhaps you could do some financing for it. I mean, there's all sorts of options, but I think that is probably a big barrier, I would imagine, for some selling owners, that they might think, that they're looking at, their business as their retirement or some other source of future income. And they're thinking if that would be a possibility without really realizing maybe that there are funds out there for workers to, like we benefited from several cooperative focused lending agencies. So there are funds out there to lend money and to kind of help in the process of that transition. And then for the workers, from the workers' standpoint, you know, for converting, you know, maybe if you have a boss and they're, you know, getting a little older, they want to move, like maybe have that conversation with them if it's something you think you're interested in, or you think, even if you just think one or two of your coworkers are interested. You know, that was like in our situation, it wasn't everyone that was extremely gung-ho right away, but people, you know, kind of came on board. And I think if you can at least talk about it with, you know, at least a few of your coworkers, and then maybe talk about it with your boss, and who knows, you might be surprised, they might be open to the idea. And then if you're trying to start a new one, same thing, like just maybe that is a less stressful way of starting a business. I think so. I mean, for years, I have thought about worker co-op, honestly, but I haven't actually tried to plan it, but I've thought about, I had thought about it from an individual level of not wanting to have my own business because it seemed so stressful. So I think that is a real advantage, that sharing the responsibility with others is a lot less stressful. And it feels, you know, it feels good that you're part of something, but also knowing that, like, well, what if, you know, 5 years from now, I decide I don't want to be working at this coffee shop? You can move on, and you know that it's still going to continue, and that legacy is still going to continue. And you're not, I mean, it sounds in a way like you're not really that vital because there's so many people, but in a way that's really great because you're also, you know, you can contribute and get something out of it and give something to it, but you also know it will go on. And that feels really special to be part of something that you're building that will have a lasting, hopefully, you know, lasting legacy.
That's so great. I mean, I think the thing I'm hearing in what you're sharing there is that, you know, it's a great viable option for, you know, owners who want to sell their business and retire. Like you said, you know, it may be a hard process, it may be a daunting process for them. They may not know who the heck they can sell it to. Don't overlook your employees, right? You might have the people who care so much about your business and want to continue the legacy right there in front of you. And on the other side for them, there's all these supports, you know, there's all these different organizations and all these different supports for them to make that transition. So I think that's just amazing thing to highlight. So how would you say that your work sort of advances local economic and community resilience and what that means to you?
Yeah, so I think, you know, in a very fundamental way, it feels, I have to believe this because people have told me, and I think it is true, but that's co-ops are more resilient. So that's just a fact, I guess. I think it is a fact that co-ops, just by their nature, are more resilient in times of economic downturn. They tend to, the businesses just as a whole tend to survive economic you know, kind of bumps in the road a little bit more resiliently, probably just due to their, you know, there being a little bit more of a flexible nature in the staffing, since there's more people are involved, and, you know, being able to be flexible with decisions and how things are handled. I don't know I can't say the exact reasons why, but I do know that's a fact. And I think as far as, you know, more a broader picture of like sustainability, resilience, if you want to just think of, you know, equity as a form of sustainability, which I do think it is, you know, having, you know, when we talk about wanting there to be living wages and just in general, you know, decreasing the economic inequality, one of the ways I think that can be reached is through an example like worker cooperatives, where, you know, no one is probably going to get rich, and probably not everyone in the group is ever going to be, you know, extremely wealthy, but it will be better wages and other, you know, kind of greater dignity in general at the workplace, which is just, you know, empowering in your overall life and how you interact with society as a member of society, when you feel like you're, you know, respected and being compensated fairly at your job. And then that trickles, you know, as we know, when wages increase, that trickles to all other aspects of the economy. So that feels like a very, you know, economically more sustainable thing. And then also people, you know, maybe making decisions together and feeling really part of the community can create more of an economic and social stability and resiliency, because, you know, you might be looking to who you're going to be partnering, where you're going to be sourcing from, and kind of have hopefully a view of wanting to support other local businesses and grow the community networks however you can. So yeah, so it definitely feels very intertwined and just inherently by the nature of the structure, like very supportive of community resiliency and part of that.
That's awesome. Raul, you have another one?
Yeah, one more question before we get to the next point. But you know, honestly, as well, I guess it's not a question, it's more of a statement. But as a consumer, I personally feel more, you know, I feel happier to go to a place where I know that when I'm spending the money goes to, you know, to a good cause, and especially a workers cooperative. You know, it is. I guess there is a question there, but like, you know, as a consumer, what would you want me to know about your business? You know, what makes me different? What makes you different than any other coffee shop out there, right? What besides the everything bagel with cream cheese and avocado? You know, why else? You know, what else do I get by going and shopping at at CUPS?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's, yes, the bagels with cream cheese and avocado are dearly beloved for a good reason. They are delicious. But I think a big thing with, you know, those of us who are involved, we, you know, first of all, we've been working there for years, so we already, you know we like this kind of work, so we like interacting with customers. We actually like our, you know, we like the job in some regard. That's why we're really, you know, wanting to move forward in this way. And then I think just to take it to the next level, now that we are a worker-owned cooperative, it feels just even that much more sincere and authentic. I don't really know how to explain it, because like I do, since even prior, like I did sincerely like interacting with customers, but now it just feels even that much more real. And it just feels like there's no I don't want to say like middleman, but that's basically what it feels like. It feels like more of a direct relationship. And because there's like, what you're seeing is these, you know, you're seeing everything. It's transparent, and all the people you see behind the counter, they're working, are all the co-owners too, and they're all the ones making the decisions, and they're all the ones, you know, benefiting from your purchase of that bagel with cream cheese and avocado. And yeah, like I said before, no one's getting rich, but getting living wages, which is important. And I think, you know, unfortunately, don't necessarily know that in a lot of consumer settings. You know, even if people seem like they're happy, you don't necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes. And so in this situation, I think that uncertainty is removed, and that, I would imagine, as a consumer, feels pretty good, because you can know that it's, you know I have felt that in the past. I'm like, oh, this seems like a nice place, but I don't really know. Like, I don't know what it's like to work here. So I think in our situation, you know, hopefully everything will continue to be good, but I think it's going to just be transparent. There's not going to be like hidden things going on, because there's so many of us involved that are not going to let that happen. And yeah, so it feels really good to be able to interact with customers, and to feel like they are supporting our structure, you know, not just supporting us, not just supporting our business or giving us money because we want money, but also supporting our structure. So it feels like a vote of confidence in our structure. And that, you know, is like a benefit on top of just from the strictly business standpoint, like, oh, thank you for like supporting this concept that we hope to see grow and to spread in other businesses in Rhode Island.
That's fantastic. So I think we'll try a lightning round, if that sounds good. These are just quick questions. Okay. So what's the first word or phrase that comes to mind when I say local?
Neighbors.
Excellent. What would you say is your go-to local business?
My go-to local business. Oh gosh, it's a hard one. I'm trying to think super local to like White Electric. Like we have Frog and Toad store right next door.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. And that's,
Excellent.
yeah, I see the t-shirt.
Yeah. What's the first word or phrase that comes to mind when I say wealth or investment?
I mean, that's hard because it could be two different things. So in our situation, I would say sharing, like wealth and cooperative sharing. So I think let's make wealth be like a positive thing instead of, a singular kind of hoarding thing.
Yeah. Awesome. And what does community mean to you?
To me, that is, just it's kind of like the reason why we're humans and why we exist, be able to interact with each other and care about each other and, support each other, the networks that we grow, whether it's even just your one friend and beyond, your coworkers, everything. It's, yeah, your family. It's kind of everything, humanity.
Nice. Last one. Okay. Thing you see happening in Rhode Island that you're most excited about?
Well, I mean, this feels like a shameless plug, but it's true. Like the growth of interest in worker cooperatives is really exciting. I guess pertaining to this conversation, that is really exciting. I think more generally, just seeing that people imagining how, with all the difficulties of the past year, people imagining how things could maybe be a little different or what they, in their own lives and then structurally. So in both ways. And I feel like, worker co-op is maybe one aspect of that, but that's really exciting to see people imagining things that could be different and how they want society to be, how they want Rhode Island and the world to be, that they want to live in, and realizing, we can do that. If we try and ask for it and find ways to do it, we can make it happen.
That is exciting. I agree. That's super exciting and super, amazing to be proud of. And, I hope, it doesn't feel too daunting to feel like 10,000 people are watching you, but you guys are doing amazing things and such a great, amazing example of this model of community wealth and resilience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's take this opportunity to promote one of your, like bestsellers, or what, why do you want people to come to White Electric?
Well, you did a little bit with the bagel, but I will say, people, and from a promotional standpoint, I think just for people to know, it's a coffee shop, but we also do have salads and sandwiches and other non-coffee beverages. So I think that's the reality of what it is. Like we do a lot of quick making fresh, like on the spot sandwiches and salads. So it's an alternative fast food, I guess I would say. Yeah. So, and also delicious espresso drink. We have all that stuff too, the fancy espresso drinks and tea with loose leaf tea and all the things you would expect at a coffee shop. But then we do also have food and lots of delicious pastries too, from Mead donuts and Providence bagel and blush and Iggy's. So yeah, we have lots of good stuff.
And where, for folks who don't know, where do they come find you, or where do they find more online or that kind of stuff?
So our website is whiteelectriccoffee.com, and our menu is on there. So if you want to call in an order, that's how we do it. Like old school, you can just call in an order. And our address is 711 Westminster Street. That's right near Classical High School, Central High School, that area, if people are familiar with that. So it's, 711 Westminster. Come visit us.
Awesome.